Hey everyone, welcome to...
Oh, we're on.
We're on. Welcome to this week's In Top Form. We have a special guest with us today, Mr. Lonnie Beck.
That's me.
He is my cohort in a lot of different adventures and ventures. So, before we get started, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself since you're new to the show?
I am.
Kind of who you are, what you do.
Sure. Well, I've known Sam and Dave for close to 25, 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
I was born and raised in Downingtown. My dad's side of the family's from Westchester, mom from Downingtown. So I've been in this area my entire life. I started here at the Dragon Gym, which is where we're coming at you guys from today, when I was 10 years old in 1990, and kind of been here ever since.
Nice.
Just going through some different ventures have taken me in different directions in life, and I've met a lot of cool people. But none of them have been as intriguing, as cool as Mr. Dave Freeze himself.
Yeah.
He's a pretty unique guy.
Absolutely.
So he's given us a lot of direction as young men growing up in our teens and our early 20s.
John Salama's on.
John Salama's on? All right,
Yeah.
John Salama, all the way from ATL. But Dave's been a guiding light for all of us for the last decade plus. So, but just being here is pretty cool while he's with his family doing their thing.
Yeah. So, Lonnie, Beck, and I, we own and run the Dragon Gyms. Now that there's multiple versions, and we also just kicked off a program called the Discovery Group.
Yeah, it's really exciting.
A lot of you guys may be familiar with 3 Days to Success and Business Black Ops. There's a mastermind program of sorts. Discovery Group is kind of the same thing. So go back and take a look at an episode from a couple weeks ago where Dave, Alex, and I talk about the mastermind, what it is, and why it's important to do that. And if that's something that you're interested in getting involved with, either if it's our program, if you're in the martial arts industry, or in Dave's program, if you're more in a professional practice, you need to be kind of established already, kind of past that ramp up phase. And you need to come talk to us first, because we really want to make sure, whether it's our group, you need to talk to us. And if it's Dave's group, you need to talk to Dave and Lisa to make sure that you're going to be a good fit for the group. And that's really important. So, anyway, what are we talking about today? We're going to kind of get into this idea of, we want to be in top form in all ways. So we want to be in top form in our business. We want to be in top form in our personal life, be in top form when we travel, and we want to be in top form in our health.
Yes.
Right? So if we break our health down, it comes to two aspects, right? Our fitness and our nutrition.
Yes.
And why is habit important for both of those things?
Well, just like anybody that's watching this that's a professional in any field knows that, they started with this idea, something that they were passionate about, and they wanted to get it to market, or they wanted to get it in front of people. And the first time that they did it, or the first time that they exposed it, it didn't really get the traction that they wanted. So the only thing that they could do is be consistent with it. Deliver it the same day, just like you guys are doing with In Top Form, right? Is you have to be consistent with it, because at first, building habits are just a pain in the ass. They're tough. They disrupt your life. They disrupt your day, your flow.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that you're not used to. And at first, you don't get a really good return off of it. But then once you stay consistent with it, and you're constantly prodding at this thing every single day in the same manner, eventually you're going to zoom out and be like, wow, like I can now see the progress.
Right.
And if you're not tracking the data, it's hard to do that. But just, from a, sort of a blind eye standpoint, you're going to see some progress, whether it's in the amount of viewership or fat loss, if we're talking health and fitness.
Right.
But the most important thing with habits is just staying consistent with them, even when you don't think they're working. That makes sense. We just got a ton of likes on that.
Yeah, I think Brian Slater's on too.
Oh, Mr. Slater.
It's always nice to have. So you have a program called the Fighters Nutrition Protocol.
Yeah.
FNP.
Mm-hmm.
So a big part of that is, and you don't use it just for fighters, right? So it's something that was kind of put through the testing system because of the needs of fighters to make weight or to cut weight. But then it became something that you use for just your Muay Thai students, and then other, my students and the kettlebell students,
Right.
everybody kind of got involved because it works.
Absolutely.
So of that, which is essentially a combination of diet and exercise, like so many things. So what are some key components of that program that made it effective for those students and clients of ours?
The number one thing was the basic change in dietary habits. So when we talk about your results, and there's really no real way to measure this, all right? So like, I'm 230 pounds and I want to lose weight and I diet and I exercise. People say 80% of your results are going to come from nutrition, and 20% of the results that you have are going to come from the exercise that you do. I've heard 90-10, I've heard 70-30. So
I read something cool the other day, which I really like. Makes my math brain hurt, but it's 100% diet and it's 100% exercise.
And it's right, because you're not going to get the results that you want, that you're looking for, especially when it comes to weight loss, without either of the two. Now, you can continue to eat primo hoagies and wah-wah and do this and that and then exercise, and you might see a little bit of a difference, but it's not going to be as drastic as it could to change your machine into what you want it to be by combining the two. But the FMP started off, it was, if anybody in this audience knows about combat sports, is you gotta, it's an unfortunate evil of fighting, is you gotta cut weight.
Right.
So
what does that mean, you have to cut weight?
So you normally you talk about two different weights when fighters talk. They talk about their walk around weight and their fight weight. So walk around weight is what they're training at. So they're in a fight camp, which is anywhere from 6 to 12 weeks long.
Right.
And at the beginning of the fight camp, they're going to weigh 200 pounds. Well, fight day, they're probably going to be about anywhere between 10 to 15% less than that. So that's the time that they step on the scale, they put their arms up, and then they fight the next day.
Right.
Is they're getting down a weight class because it's more advantageous for them to reload, put that weight back on. They're bigger and taller than their opponent.
Right.
But the thing is, everybody does that. So
anyway.
There's really no difference whatsoever.
So part of weight cutting is a very quote unquote sports specific strategic thing that we do. So like when I used to compete, I would walk around anywhere between 155 and 160, and I fought at 139.
Yeah.
Right. So the idea being, well, I want to take as much advantage of my size, height, reach, all of those things. So I want to fight at a lower weight class, because if I fight at 160, I'm probably fighting a guy that walks around at 185.
Well, and even more dangerous in Taekwondo, it's not the fact that he's walking around at 185; it's the fact that he's 6'2".
Exactly.
Right. So that's depending on which game you're playing, it definitely becomes more dangerous.
Is it mass? Is it reach?
Right.
What are the different things at play? So, when I was competing, we didn't know. We didn't know what to do.
Right.
So what did we do? We just kind of didn't eat, drank Gatorade, and wore garbage bags.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, there to a degree in the fight game, there's still a bit of that going on. Like if you can't, and disclaimer here, like we don't recommend cutting weight the way that fighters do. We have a very strict proven system. I monitor the fighters when they're going through it. I'm with them every step of the way if we're hitting the sauna or the salt bath or whatever it is. But it's honestly what it is. It's like it's operating at a calorie deficit. Right. You're burning more calories than you're taking in. Period. That's really what it is. And then the cleaner those calories can be, the more water that you add to that, the higher intensity of cardio training and running, the better results that you'll get.
So you needed to find a better way, a safer way for your fighters to cut the weight. And then it turns out, well, this is actually a pretty effective way for everyone.
Yeah, and like when we first started it, like the first time, what had happened was I brought the F&P out to one of our fighters, Sammy, and another guy, Jerry. You remember Jerry?
Oh, yeah.
He came to me and said, what's that? And he was really interested in losing some weight. So I let him look at it, and he's like, could you tailor something like this for me? Now, the F&P that I had for our fighters was really aggressive.
Yeah.
So, I had to get down 10 to 15% body fat in 6 to 8 weeks. But then what I did was I sort of tailored it to the regular people that were in here hitting pads just for fun, or they don't have any ambitions of fighting.
Right.
And I actually there was 3 people that I had to stop because they were losing too much weight. And it was like, it showed how effective it was, but it's also breaking just standard dietary habits.
Right.
And when you do that, there's a huge curve of weight loss and fat loss when people start doing something like that and pairing it with the proper exercise. So we learned how to dial it back, and then I made it a little bit more friendly to the general public.
Mm-hmm.
And then the results that we had for the people that did it were astonishing. I mean, astonishing.
So let's start from the top down, right? So in this, nutrition protocol, let's take the word out, fighter, right?
Mm-hmm.
In this nutrition protocol, so for the people watching, what are the rules? What are the guidelines? Starting from the basic, and then we can get into some more specific stuff as you work.
Yeah,
on that.
so it can change depending on the person. I had somebody that had hypothyroidism. I had somebody that was a vegetarian. But the basic rules are this. Number one, we have to increase water intake, generally by about 100%. Because most people are drinking about half the water that they need.
So people do this. Does that mean a gallon of water a day?
It depends on your body weight. So usually you want to be at, it really depends. So usually when the fighters are getting ready to go, the girls are generally at about 3/4 of a gallon.
Okay.
And my guys are at about a gallon. So a gallon is 128 ounces. So I'm not sure of that math, but
yeah, we don't need to do the math.
Yeah, it's
but
usually under that.
Let's give people an easy guideline.
So you should.
Your average female, 3/4 of a gallon.
3/4 of a gallon, especially if you're an active average female and it's the summertime, you should be drinking a lot of water. And
average male,
about a gallon.
About a gallon a day.
About a gallon. Would you agree?
I do.
Yeah,
I do.
So I mean,
we guzzle the water.
Just slamming water throughout the day has so many other benefits for your skin, your hair, your eyes, your mental clarity, your sleep quality is huge. So that's the first thing that we really do is I really ramp their water to make sure that they're getting enough water. The other thing that water does, you drink enough of it, it can suppress your appetite.
Yeah.
So that it works into our calorie deficit there as well. The second thing that I do is I eliminate all processed sugars. So there is no sugar whatsoever unless you're eating a piece of fruit, which is only done after a strenuous exercise.
So tell me, or tell everybody, what is a processed sugar?
Anything that is like a refined carbohydrate. So that's stuff that you're pulling out of packages, Kind bars, Snickers bars. You can find it in just about anything. It's in goldfish. It's in bread.
Right.
I mean, it depends on what type of product, but anything that if you flip the label over and it says it has 6 grams of sugar, don't eat it.
It's out.
So
a friend and mentor of ours, Dan John, used to call them cardboard carbs.
Okay.
Cardboard carbs. So if it comes in a cardboard box packaging, you don't get to eat it.
Don't eat it.
You don't get to eat it.
Yep.
Another thing, or another way that we put it is if it's an ingredient, it's okay.
Yes.
If it has ingredients, it isn't.
So another one of our mentors, Brian Petty,
Yeah.
he used to tell us this. People would go up to Brian all the time and say, "Hey, Brian, what can I eat?" And he goes, "You can eat anything you want as long as it has one ingredient."
Right.
And everybody was like, "What's the ingredient?" And he goes, No. It has to have one ingredient. Pear.
Yeah. Pear.
Bacon.
Yeah.
Peach. Whatever it might be. But so it really increasing your daily water intake.
Michelle's on.
And who?
Michelle Summers.
Oh, nice. Increasing your daily water intake and then also eliminating processed sugars. You can even go down, and the third thing that I would do, especially when we get down into the fighters, is 0 grains. No grains whatsoever.
Okay. Rule number 1, lots of water.
Tons of water.
Rule number 2, no processed sugars. No cardboard carbs. No, high fructose corn syrup.
Of course.
No added sugar. None of that stuff. Fruits are okay.
Fruits are okay at
Fruit
a certain
juice
time.
is not, for example.
Yeah, fruit juice has tons of carbohydrates in it.
Tons of sugars.
Yeah.
Rule number 3, if we want to get a little more aggressive with it, no grains.
No grains.
So give us some examples of that.
So whole grains. We're looking at wheat. You're looking
Wait,
at.
I thought whole grain bread was healthy.
So they say, right? But there's really been, depending on which, again, you can go on Google and find the answer to any question you want, right?
Yeah.
Find the affirmative. But there's really no health benefit to having grains. Like people say, well, it's how you get fiber. Well, you can get fiber from fruits. You can get fiber from psyllium husk. You can get it from all kinds of other stuff. Maybe you want it for the good carb stuff. Well, now you can switch to vegetables and things like that. But grains, like if you think about what grains do, it's like brown sludge, and it can, number one, it can back you up. It can, if it's processed with certain foods at that time, it can get stored as sugars. And there's definitely better sources of fuel that you can get in your body other than grains.
Okay, so examples of grains would be like breads,
Whole grain breads,
pastas.
Mm-hmm.
Is rice a grain?
Rice is a grain.
So, sorry, no rice.
So is corn.
Corn.
Corn is a grain.
No corn.
Corn is.
I think that's all the big ones, right?
That's the big
It's
ones.
like bread, pasta, rice, corn.
Yep.
So corn products.
Corn
out,
products.
Right?
Yep.
No Doritos.
Unfortunately, man, and Doritos are amazing.
They're so good.
I was
Ranch Doritos,
dude.
I had some. Oh.
I was in Costa Rica last week, and I had the regular nacho cheese Doritos. Yeah, I ate them.
I haven't had regular Doritos.
But they were different. They were like really spicy.
Oh.
And I guess like the Central Americans have a
Yeah.
different barometer of what they can tolerate in terms of spice. But
Yeah.
look, here's the other thing, is like you need to allot yourself a certain amount of freedom to be human and to enjoy things, right?
Mm-hmm.
So who knows what the days hold for us. Like go out and with your friends and have a glass of wine, and if you're in Philly, have a cheesesteak and do stuff like that.
So,
but when it comes to daily habits, you have to stick to these principles.
Well, and that's one thing that we talk about a lot, right? Is like when you go out to a meal, there's three things, right? The food, the service,
And the
company, right? Only one of those things has to be good.
Yes.
Which one?
The company.
The company, right? Because food is how we come together.
Mm-hmm.
So, we're giving a set of guidelines, and we can be very, very strict with those guidelines. But you got to remember, is essentially human society, right? Food is how we come together.
Yeah.
Right? So let's not forget that, and don't push people away because you're trying something cool with your diet.
When it comes to like when we talk about the fighter nutrition protocol, when it comes time for our fighters to cut weight, and if anybody's on here that's watching this, they can tell you that is they are at their most miserable from the time that they start the weight cut until the time that they step off of the scale, right?
Right.
They are completely miserable. They disconnect themselves from certain relationships because they're going through that 12 weeks of suffering or 8 weeks of suffering. And it was the same thing with my wife when she did the competition, is that you had to deny mom and dad that we're going to come over on Sunday because mom's cooking pasta and homemade bread and meatballs, and she can't have any of that stuff. But you got to figure out what you're doing it for. Like, look, if you're getting into the ring or you're going to hop on stage as a figure competitor, all right, well, now I know that I need to have that 8 weeks. It's a finite amount of time. I'm going to suffer through it, whatever. But if this is just to create health, like, at the expense of what?
Right.
Right? I can't go to your house and I can't hang out with your kid and I'm not going to do this and I'm not going to do that. Now all of a sudden you're pushing people away. And I think that we've seen that a lot with people when they get really inundated and connected to something like this with their health. You can't forget about just day-to-day life.
So I think that's a really, really important factor before we get to rule number 4, is this idea of developing habit, or are you just trying to meet a specific deadline or a specific goal, right? So your habits should be sustainable, right? So there's that saying, like, don't do diets, just create a lifestyle that's healthy and maintains itself, and it's something that you can follow and it's not breaking you down. But if you have a specific deadline, like a fitness competition or a competition of
Cowboy up,
right? Then it's a specific deadline, and then you can stick to that,
right?
Knowing there will be some relief or reprieve at the end,
right?
But for the rest of us that just want to look better, feel better, and know we're doing the right things, follow these rules, but also establish a routine in such a way that you can be successful and follow it and maintain the relationships. So
agreed. Do you have a rule number 4?
I thought there was a rule number 4.
Nobody talks about rule number 4. No, rule number.
Well, yeah.
So the next principle that I would go into is, depending on where you are, is eliminating dairy. So there's a lot of different, again, controversy about that.
I was going to say rule number 4 is a different liquid.
A different liquid? Oh, alcohol?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, dairy and grain usually go hand in hand. When they say there's certain things that we're going to eliminate from our diet, grains and dairy are usually the two that we eliminate at the same time. It just creates a cleaner burning process in your system. All right, so alcohol.
So is that rule number 5?
This will be 4.
Rule number 4.
We'll put grain and dairy in the same category.
Okay. So rule number 3, no grain, no dairy.
Yes.
Rule number 4, no alcohol. Why not?
No alcohol?
No alcohol.
Alcohol does a lot of different things to your body. It creates a lot of inflammation, especially if you're drinking beer like a wheat.
OH radicals.
Yes, OH radicals. If you're drinking like a rye, something that has like yeast and wheat and rye in it, it creates inflammation in your body. It makes your liver work overtime so it can't process other things as well. It disrupts mental clarity. And the other thing that alcohol does is it relieves us of our inhibitions, which anybody that's ever gotten, had one too many whiskeys at night, you roll downstairs and you're like, I'm just going to smash a sleeve of Oreos. Who cares, right?
That's right.
So that's, for me, I think that's probably the most important thing when it comes to alcohol is that you don't care. When you have a certain amount of alcohol, you release your inhibitions, and whatever it is, you will rationalize with yourself at that time that it's okay to do that.
Right.
Whatever it is, drunk texting
So there's
somebody.
the effect of the alcohol itself.
Correct.
And then there's the secondary effect of the inebriation.
Yes.
Right. Where then, you might eat more than you'd normally eat, get off because of rule number 4, you broke rule number 4, so now you're breaking rules 1, 2, and 3.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
So
now you talk about red wine with all the antioxidants and what's that, resveratrol or something. And
I can't say the word.
Eat a plum. Eat some strawberries.
Yeah.
You don't need to get. There's not that many antioxidants in a glass of red wine for you to rationalize having 4 of them.
Right.
So, but again, when you're doing it, if you're gonna have this challenge type of thing, 0 alcohol. If we're gonna do it, let's do it.
Yeah, it's short-term challenge. Commit to it all in.
Right.
But so rule number 4 is a good example of how you can moderate yet still follow the rules. Right. So what do we mean by that? No alcohol.
Yep.
Okay. So we were just talking about this yesterday, right? Is beer. When we were younger, we used to drink a lot of beer.
Yeah, it was cheap.
It was cheap. We were younger.
Yeah.
Had less responsibilities.
Did the job.
But now we almost never drink beer, right? One, there's a lot of empty calories, so on and so forth. But then the next day, because of the inflammation, we typically...
you feel so groggy.
You don't feel as good. So we've switched to distilled spirits, right? We don't drink a lot of it, but it's, that's a way of moderating.
Yeah.
Right? It's kind of choice rather than total elimination.
Right.
Right? So, let's go back to the no grain rule, right? Okay, you're going to have rice once in a while.
Sure.
Okay, you have white rice close to a workout. It's okay.
Yep.
Right? And control the quantity.
Well, controlling the quantities, that's the other thing. So, you really have to have, I think the most important thing going into anything like this is, when you have that click in your head. For instance, when I first started doing the FMP, I didn't charge people for it, right?
Okay.
But yes. it was the fighters, but they had an end goal in mind, and they're like, all right,
right.
If I don't make weight, all of this.
So what he's going to talk about now is hypercritical to forming good habits.
Yes, all right. So the fighter didn't make weight. What was at stake was the fact that the last 8 to 12 weeks of painstaking hard work was done in vain. So you hit the scale and you don't make weight, which means you don't fight.
Right.
Right? Which means that what you just did was for nothing.
And there's a ton on the line, right? All that effort's wasted.
100%.
It damages their reputation as a fighter, and it damages your coach's reputation.
Which is huge in the fight community, because if you get known as a coach that brings fighters to fights and they don't make weight, you will get trashed.
Yeah.
You'll
and
never
often,
get a fight again.
That is more important to people, is someone else's reputation than your own.
So I started doing the FMP, and the first time that I did it, I didn't charge people for it. And I said, all right, well, here is the FMP that I was doing was 6 weeks. Here's week 1, diet, week 2, diet, all the way through 6. And I noticed that week 1, I would get really good involvement. Then week 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 were just non-existent. This person wasn't losing weight.
Compliance fell off.
Because there was nothing there that established value to it. There was nothing there that scared them.
There was no stakes.
There was no stake, right? No stake in the game, right? So what I started to do was then I started charging people $300. Okay?
Very reasonable.
So for anyone, $300 is it's a lot of money, right? You're not just going to go out today and go to Best Buy and bomb $300 without thinking about it.
Sure.
So once we started charging people for it, now it was all right. And they got a little bit of a neck on the line, stake in the game, and they would go through and they would not give up because they didn't want to
waste $300.
They didn't want to waste $300.
Right.
You know, because there's whatever. I don't have anything in it. I'm not going to do it. Big deal. What's the loss? A week of my time. So once we started doing that, it created that habit or it created that mindset that, man, I'm invested in this thing. Now I'm going to do it. And that's the big problem with health clubs, right? It's a low cost entry. Planet Fitness is $10. These other places are $30. If I don't go to the gym, big deal. What am I out a month? $10?
$10.
Who cares?
Yeah.
Right? So, investing in something is another really great tool to make sure that you're actually going to commit to doing something. So, once I started charging people money, I noticed that the results went through the roof.
So, we're talking about developing habits and developing habits, your nutrition habits, right? But for the purpose of developing habit in general is somehow making sure you have some skin in the game, right? Because in order to develop a habit, it takes some level of consistency.
Yes.
Right? So how do you make sure you maintain that consistency? Because over time, the allure, the shininess of that new thing that you're trying to develop a habit for will wear off.
Yeah, of course.
So you need some sort of other motivator, some skin in the game, something to lose besides just the weight.
Yeah, and it's at that point, by the way, when the luster wears off that you know if you're real about it or not.
Right. So there's, different numbers get thrown out there. Maybe it's 21 days, maybe it's 66 days, maybe it's 240 days. The answer is it depends. It depends on you, and it depends on what the thing is that you're trying to develop a habit or automaticity for.
Ooh.
But whatever that is, look, it's at least 21 days.
Has to be.
So how can you create that skin in the game, right? One way is pay for it.
Pay for it.
Pay for it, right? Invest in it, because really you're investing in yourself.
You are.
For your health, your nutrition, fitness, so on and so forth. What are some other ways, in addition to monetarily, people can put some skin in the game?
Tell people. So there's a lot of times when people will do something and they have this goal in their mind and they don't tell anybody about it. Right? So if I don't do it, who's going to give me the noise about not doing it if I haven't told anybody?
Right.
No one. Right? Both you and I have very opinionated, outspoken wives. Right? And if we tell...
Gabby's on, by the way.
Oh, is she?
Yeah.
Oh, love you. If I tell my wife that I'm going to do something and I don't do it, I know that she's going to give me the business about doing it. Yeah. And that can ring true with friends and coworkers and stuff like that. Like if you're having something at work or you have this thing in your head that you want to do, tell people around you that this is what you're going to do. Right. And then you know what you can even do is ask them to hold you accountable.
Right.
Hey, help me through this. Would you mind?
The beauty of this thing that we have called Facebook and social media is you can make a public declaration, affirmation or declaration is like, hey, friends, this is really important to me. Here's why. Yeah. There's the timeline for it. Help me.
Help me.
Hold me accountable.
Yeah.
Oh, and by the way, if you want, we can do this together.
Yeah.
So it's this really cool thing that we can leverage technology in ways to make our lives better.
Yeah.
We were just talking about that earlier, and it's kind of an aside, but all this technology, people have let it complicate their lives and in a way eliminate the personal connections that make things work. Right? But here's an opportunity to leverage technology in a way that can enhance our lives and enhance those connections.
The more people you can get on board with something like this, the better percentage that you're going to have to actually complete it. And like there's a saying out there. There's like nothing tastes as good as thin feels, right? It's kind of corny, but it's like it's really true. Like if and here's a really good like nugget of advice that one of our coaches told us. He goes, when you're trying to lose weight or you're cutting weight for a competition and you have these like you're always going to have like these tiny little battles throughout the day. I see the box of
Right.
Oreos. I see the bag of chips. He goes, you just have to win that one battle, just right there in front of you, and you can quit if you want, but you have to quit tomorrow.
Right.
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 So if I'm on a 21-day challenge, and I'm telling you guys right now, if you do a 21-day challenge and you're eliminating sugar, you're eliminating processed carbs, and you're eating earth-grown, nutrient-rich food, day 7 through 12 is going to be like Hades. I mean, you're going to think that you're in the depths of the earth, and your mind will start playing tricks on you. You can quit. You just have to quit tomorrow. Right? And you tell that to yourself every day. Win each little battle, and then guess what? I'll quit tomorrow. And then tomorrow never comes.
Right.
You finish that 21 days, and all of a sudden those jeans that you bought 4 years ago fit. Somebody makes a comment on the way that you look. And dude, there is nothing more satisfying than having something like that occur in your life, to yourself, to your body. So it's completely worth it.
So a big part of developing good habits is this idea of micro victories.
Yeah.
Micro victories is, the example we use a lot is this idea of earning your black belt, right? People come into our gym and, they're total beginners, whether they're coming in from martial arts or Muay Thai or something else. But, nobody comes in and we say, okay, you got to learn 27 kicks, 8 forms, 40 hand-to-hand combat techniques. You got to be able to do a full split, and you got to break 5 boards. See you in 3 years.
Right.
We don't do that to people.
No.
Right? We walk them and go step by step. The first thing you got to do, you got to show up on Tuesday. That's it.
Yep.
Right? So it's the same thing when you're creating this, challenge for yourself or nutrition plan is, micro victories. We've given you 4 rules so far, right? Lots of water.
Lots of water.
What was number 2?
Number 2 was sugar. No sugar.
No processed sugar. Eliminate grains and dairy, and no alcohol.
Yep.
Right? Well, pick one of them. You know what? No alcohol. It's gone.
Yeah.
Or pick the easy one. Just drink more water.
Yeah, and you want to really make it tricky and see what your willpower is worth. Eliminate sugar.
Yeah.
And try that for 2 weeks or 21 days, somewhere around there.
Micro victories.
And that's like what's really cool too is that you'll start to see the stages that you go through, and the more you tell people about it. So I did the no sugar for 30 days, and then I saw 2 of our moms did it as well immediately after that.
Nice.
Another mom did it after that. She brought it to 40 days. So
Wow.
she was like, bring it. I'm going 40 days no sugar, and she made it. So that sort of springboards other people and inspires other people to do that as well. So
very cool. Very cool. So let's switch gears a little bit and talk about fitness.
Okay.
What are some of the things that you do for fitness and recommend? So the things we do aren't necessarily always the things that we recommend for others.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I do some dumb stuff and get injured and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But in terms of fitness, again, the most important thing with that is consistency. Is you have to, before you have a plan of what you're going to do at the gym, you have to have a plan of when you're going to do it. So Tuesdays, Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 3 o'clock, I work out here at Dragon Gym Exton. Tuesday, Thursday evenings, generally, I'll go to the gym with my wife. So that's just what we do at those times.
Yeah.
Right? So it's not about what I'm going to do, it's about when I'm going to do it. And it's scheduled in my day just as our staff meetings at 2 o'clock are scheduled here at Dragon Gym. Just like I teach Tuesdays and Thursday nights Muay Thai at 7:30. I have that same consistency in my exercise schedule. Because otherwise it'll turn into, I'm going to work out when I want to. And then when I want to never happens.
Or worse than when I want to is when I have time.
Because you're never going to have time.
Never going to have time. So the idea of, scheduling time for you, scheduling time for your health, scheduling time for your fitness, like you have to schedule time for everything else to make sure it happens.
You have to do it. I mean, we only have one vehicle for the whole time that we're here. You gotta maintain. It's like getting a car, like spending all this money on a car and never changing the damn oil.
Right.
Eventually, something's
it's
going to
seize up and break down.
Something's going to happen.
See, even I do that.
Yeah. You change your oil more consistently than I do in my cars, but that's the most important thing is that you maintain the vehicle that we have. But when it comes to exercise,
hey, Lindsay's on.
Oh, hey, Lindsay Bain. There's a couple different philosophies. Lift heavy stuff. run fast,
Mm-hmm.
and move often. Walk. You know?
Cool.
So going for long brisk walks, lifting heavy stuff, deadlifting, squat, the big three, deadlift, squat, and bench.
Yep.
You know, you don't have to overcomplicate stuff where you're doing, you know, leg extensions and hinges. And if you want to get into that later, once you've developed habits, go for it.
Sure.
But like deadlift, squat, and bench, and then sprint. Like if your body is capable of doing it, go for like, you know, 10 parking lot sprints. So 50 yards, 100 yards. Sprint down as fast as you can, walk back, and do that 10 times. The amount of hormone production, testosterone, all kinds of other stuff that's going through your body when you do that is what's going to help your body grow, especially paired with a proper diet.
So schedule the time.
Yeah, you have to.
And it doesn't have to be a lot of time. You don't have to do these marathon,
30 minutes, man.
2-hour workouts
You shouldn't.
that you see people talking about. Is you're much better off doing 20 to 30 minutes every day,
Right.
than trying to be a weekend warrior and do 2 hours on Saturday and Sunday.
Well, so when you do that, if you're going to go for 2 hours once a week, or even more infrequently, you're only doing one thing. You're not building your body's energy systems. You're just making yourself tired. Yeah. And you have to stay consistent with exercise because it's a constant flow. It's something that builds off the day before it. So.
So one thing we recommend a lot, if you're going to set time aside and you're not sure where to start walking.
Just start walking.
Start walking.
Go for and walk faster than you would as if you weren't going anywhere. Does that make sense?
Right.
Like walk like you got somewhere to be.
Right.
So Gabby and I have been going for walks at night.
Mm-hmm.
I actually can't keep up with her because her legs are longer than mine.
Yeah.
So it's a super brisk walk for me, and like one lap around our neighborhood I think is a mile. So we've been doing like 2 laps, and then sometimes she'll go for a third after that.
Nice.
But after that, like I'm toast.
Yeah.
I'm ready to go to bed. Take a shower and I'm in bed. But long brisk walks are a great place to start.
It's a brisk walk, not a leisurely stroll.
Yeah.
But really, there's no skill set required for that, right? You don't need to learn how to lift weights.
No, you just gotta.
There's no equipment required.
Right.
You just need a good pair of shoes. So start there.
And if you're going at night, just be safe. Wear a headlamp or wear some reflective clothing and stuff like that.
Of course. Then the next thing we would suggest is strength training.
Yes.
Quote unquote, lift heavy stuff.
Yep.
Some sort of strength or resistance training. We like the idea of picking things up and putting them back down.
Yep.
Things we call the deadlift, the squat, the bench press.
Mm-hmm.
But any resistance training that makes sense for you.
Yeah, use bands, use
good.
bells, use whatever.
Push-ups, body weight squats.
Yep.
Is good. Then the third and final thing is sprinting, right? Is the quote-unquote high intensity type of exercise.
Yep. So the sprinting is going to, especially if you do it consistently, like one of the things that we do a lot is the parking lot here at the gym. We have a really long parking lot, and it's about 80 meters. Mm-hmm. So you'll sprint down, and then there's no rest. Your rest is what's called an active rest, where you're walking back down to the parking lot to the end. As soon as you get to that start line, you're going again. So it does a couple things. One is it gets your body used to something called anabolic recovery, which, like, if anybody's ever done anything strenuous, you don't really feel it until you stop. And then all of a sudden you stop what you were doing, you're like, oh my God, it hurts so much. Like, that's lactic acid, that's all kinds of stuff. But it also promotes a lot of hormone production, which is really great for recovery. It's really great for all of your body's energy systems and building cardiovascular. And also, that's the stuff that's good for burning visceral fat. So that's the fat that's around your organs. It's a fat that's around your heart, fat that's around your kidneys and stuff like that. So, as anybody knows, like when you get, people get really obese, a really big risk factor is the visceral fat around the heart. So the fat, the heart is this big muscle, and now it's got all this fat packed around it, and now it's working overtime to move that layer of fat, which creates, impingements in the heart's ability to pump blood.
Throughout the rest of your body. Right?
Brisk walking and sprinting is great. Again, if your body is capable of doing it,
And I think the other part worth mentioning is whatever you do for fitness or exercise, try to find something that you enjoy.
Yeah.
It should not be drudgery and oh my God, I can't believe I have to go do this workout again.
What's also
don't
great
do
for
that workout. Find
That's
something
fun.
that you like.
Training martial arts.
Martial arts people,
Yeah, man.
we love them.
So one of the things, I was with a buddy of mine, and I was talking to him about my challenge with jiu-jitsu. We've been doing jiu-jitsu for a really long time,
Yeah.
and I've been having some challenges with it. And he said to me what you said earlier. He said, just show up.
Yeah.
That's all you got to do is show up.
Right.
But once you get into a group of people that are like doing something together, whether it's training Muay Thai or training Taekwondo or training jiu-jitsu, like you're gonna suffer together, and when you're done that class, there's no better feeling.
There really isn't.
There really isn't. Like you're all, like we just went through that together. I was looking at you. You were about to give up. You were looking at me. I was about to get sick. But we pushed each other through it, and that's so much fun. Like getting in a group of people that
martial arts training, again, like whatever quote unquote style of martial art it may be, like you said, is something that we cannot recommend enough.
Yeah.
Now, granted, we've been doing this our whole lives. We've built our business around martial arts education, what it does for kids, what it does for adults.
Right.
All that aside, we've also done a lot of other things in fitness.
Right.
Fair enough, right?
Yeah.
We play team sports, and I think you can get a similar type of feeling from team sports. Like, used to play basketball.
Yeah.
I used to play soccer, but it's not the same.
No.
It's not the same. That kind of camaraderie and support structure that you get in a martial arts community is unmatched.
It's so unique. It really is. And when you find a group of people, and that's the most important part of, like you said, we're going to go out to dinner. What's the most important part is the company, right? The service and the food can suck really bad, but if I was with somebody that I really love or really like to talk to, it would have been worth it.
Right.
But if I go in, when I go into a martial arts setting, the most important thing about that martial arts setting are the people that I'm doing it with, because you're going to create these bonds and these relationships. And by the way, when you don't show up on Tuesday, like I'm going to give you the noise on Thursday. I'd be like, bro, I was here.
Where were
on
you?
Thursday, and I had to do like 150 push-ups by myself. WTF? Like, you better show up next time.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah.
So that creates another layer of accountability.
So, rule number 5.
What was rule number 4?
No alcohol.
Oh, rule number 5 was train.
Go do martial arts.
Train, man.
Yeah, find a good school. Find a place where you like the people.
Yeah.
And look, the facility is important.
100%.
The style is important, because it's got to be a style that makes sense and works for you.
Right. Yeah.
And what your goals are. The instructor is important, but not for why you think, right? The instructor is not important because of the medals they've won, because of the rank they have and the number of belts or the people they beat up, right? The instructor is important because of their leadership and the type of community that they can or have cultivated.
Yes.
Because ultimately, what's important about a martial arts school or studio is the community within it.
Yes.
And that's where you really get the benefit when it comes to your fitness, when it comes to your nutrition, and when it comes to developing habit.
Yeah. And the personal victories of the people in it, right? So, we've seen martial arts schools where, the instructor's only concerned about either his ego or him winning in tournaments, and it becomes less about the people in it and more about the outcome of what they get in terms of victory, in the sport of it. But, if the instructor is really invested in helping the student or you become the best version of yourself, and everybody else in that group as well, now you got a really good support system.
Right.
And that's important. But the most important thing when it comes to training is consistency. Like, you might not feel like you're getting good at first, right? But you were definitely better than you were yesterday, right? And you're not as good as you're going to be tomorrow. So just every single time that you go to class, you're gonna doubt it. You're gonna think there's something else. Like, just show up. That's all you got to do is get to the gym, put your uniform on.
Show up and trust the process.
Trust the process.
Trust the process. So we got a little bit of time left. I want to talk about something that some people will say is a little more extreme, but that we're doing now, and we are going to be presenting to people to do as a challenge, and that is the idea of fasting.
Ah, okay. Yeah.
So what are you doing with your fasting right now?
So
what is fasting first?
Well, fasting's not eating. So
simple. Just don't eat.
And you actually, no, you don't. You just don't eat meat on Thursdays.
Yeah, but now I fast Thursdays.
Oh, you fast
too.
Thursdays.
Yeah.
So I just stopped it. It was, essentially what it is like it's 24 hours on, 24 hours off.
Right.
So for 24 hours, I will eat, and there's a couple different ways that you can do it. You can eat a normal diet of what you would normally do.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, if that's Wawa Shorty Hoagies and Domino's Pizza, you want to adjust some of that. But eat a normal standard diet for 24 hours. And then for the next 24 hours, you don't eat anything.
Right.
You can have black coffee, you can have tea, you can have water. And then the next 24 hours after that, you would continue to eat. So there's a couple ways to do this, to make it easy. The way that I found that works best for me is I will start that at 7 p.m. Right? So I'll wake up on Monday morning and I eat until 7 p.m., then I'm done. Right? Then from 7 p.m.
You eat as normal.
I eat as normal.
Right.
Whatever.
So it's not.
Yeah, I'm not trying to
you're
smash
not
in.
gorging yourself because you're not going to get to eat tomorrow.
No. You're eating the standard, whatever the caloric intake is. I don't do micros and macros, so I don't know. But then from 7 p.m. till the time that I go to bed, I wake up. I go until 7 p.m. the following day. So that does a couple things for me. One, it makes that 24 hours seem faster, because I ate on Monday, but I can also eat on Tuesday.
Right.
But I'm still fasting for 24 hours.
Because you slept for at least 8 of.
Yeah, 8 hours, and you wake up, and then 7 p.m. on Tuesday, I'm like, oh, cool. I'll go home, eat a ton of vegetables and meat, go to bed, nice, good, healthy.
So break it down like this: a 24-hour fast is basically when you had your last meal. So you're of the night before. So let's say you had dinner at 7 p.m. All that means is you don't get another meal until 7 p.m. the next day.
Correct.
Right.
Now, certain studies have shown. I can reference the link on here if people need.
Yeah,
it,
we'll put some links in the comments after the show, and then all the stuff will go in the show notes on the podcast as well.
So paired with heavy lifting and sprinting, the fasting days showed a 200% increase in testosterone production in men.
So, what does that mean? You do your strength training and your sprinting the day you're fasting?
No, so the sprinting would be done on fasting days. So like exercise, if you're trying to lose weight, doing like a high intensity exercise like sprinting or brisk walking is best done when fasted. So that's where you're going to notice the
Okay, so I'm fasting on Tuesday. So
Correct.
Tuesday I do my sprint work.
Tuesday you're going to do your sprint work. Monday you're going to do your strength training, right?
All right.
So what's happening if anybody on this podcast has ever done like leg day on Monday, you usually feel it on Tuesday, right?
Right.
And then again you'll feel it on Wednesday. But Tuesday is when your body is really sore, and then that's when your body starts producing a ton of like growth hormone, all kinds of stuff to heal that muscle, right?
Right.
So if you do that, and then you spike your testosterone production from fasting while your body is needing it, the recovery is going to be a whole lot faster. So that's what I've noticed, and it completely melts body fat.
There's also a process called autophagy or autophagy. That's probably how I would say it.
Yeah, he says everything wrong.
But essentially what that means is like your cells can't repair themselves while they're trying to synthesize protein from what you ate.
Yeah. So the fasting days get fun too, because like the first day it's cool because you've never done it before, and you're like, and you get through the first day and you're like, whatever, man. And then like you eat for 24 hours, and then you go on the second this day, and then the 5th and 7th day are ridiculous. Yeah, they're hard because that's when you start to rationalize stuff. Excuse me. I need sugar. I need this. I haven't had that. I need more fats. But there's 2 different ways you can do it. You can really do like a calorie reduced diet on those days, or you can just eat normally. Yeah, so the same result.
That is one approach that works well for people, is have like regular days and deficit days. Yeah. Right. So a big part of why fasting works for weight loss and fat loss is because on the aggregate, your total calorie intake is reduced. Right. Right. So if I'm looking at, instead of my calorie intake on a daily basis, I'm looking at it on a weekly basis. Well, I only ate on, even if you fast 1 day a week, on 6 out of 7 days. Right. So over time, week after week, month after month, your aggregate calorie intake is reduced. So on the most basic level, it's a reduced calorie diet. Yes. And it's just sometimes it's easier to just skip a day of eating rather than trying to eat less all the time, right? Yeah. So it's a little bit of a psychological trick as well. But the key point being is not to kind of rebound from your fast fast day. So you fasted all day, you're like, man, did a great job, I'm going to eat a pizza. Not a piece of pizza, a pizza, right? So that's... Well, yeah. So that's detrimental. So it's still following the rules we talked about earlier, right? Lots of water. So on your fast day, you still have lots of water, right? No processed sugars,
nope.
No grains or dairy,
nope,
and possibly no alcohol,
no alcohol.
So you follow those rules, and then we add this force multiplier of fasting 1 or 2 or 3 days a week. You're going to see some awesome results.
Within a very short amount of time, you're going to see a lot of really great results. You know, adding the coffee in there is okay because it's a good spike for metabolic drive. You know, it gives you a little bit of energy, and you know, you got to drink coffee every day.
Yeah. Come on. You live longer.
Yeah.
You're happier.
Yeah.
And that means the people around you are happier too.
Drink more coffee. Yeah. That's what I learned.
So when people start fasting, they get this like headache thing, where they say they get this headache thing. So drinking coffee or green tea seems to help with that, right? Get people through that. And then also, once you get used to fasting, that headache thing goes away.
So what is that headache thing?
I don't really know. I don't know if it's just like a psychosomatic thing or if it's like a sugar addiction thing.
Yeah, I've been told, and I can see that how it could be is withdrawal.
Yeah.
You know, it's withdrawal from certain dietary things that we're getting in our habit or in our diet every day that we're now not taking in, and our body's reacting a certain way, which is kind of wild if you think about it. Like, then that means there's a bit of an addiction, should that be true. But
and look, addiction can be physiological or psychological.
100%.
So here's the thing: we can get into the weeds of like why fasting works, or why do these rules work for weight loss, and why different types of approaches to fitness are good, and why one martial art is better than another, and we can get into all those technical details. But ultimately, it doesn't matter.
No, and it confuses the end user. Right. And then that's when people are like, you know what, I was getting ready to do it, and then I just got confused because I don't know which philosophy to follow. Right. So, they throw their hands up.
And they don't do anything. So there becomes a paralysis or an excuse not to do anything because of the overload of information.
So what's a simple way to start?
Drink more water every day.
Drink more water every day. Eat clean, earth-grown, nutrient-rich food.
Yeah.
Clean meats, eat clean vegetables and fruits, and exercise.
Right.
Yeah. It's pretty simple.
Ingredients.
What are the ingredients?
Eat ingredients.
Eat ingredients. Don't eat stuff that has ingredients.
Yes. Don't buy food, buy ingredients.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Skippy peanut butter is amazing, though.
Yeah.
Like, it's the best peanut butter on the planet. Not allowed to eat it, man.
No.
Nope.
No. So let's review before we close out here our 4 rules or guidelines to get started in developing good habits for nutrition. Number 1.
More water. Drink a lot of it. Clean water.
For our average female.
About 100 gallons. 100 ounces or so.
About 100 ounces. 3/4 of a gallon of water. For the average male.
About 120.
128 ounces. About a gallon a day of water. Rule number 2.
Eliminate sugar. If you're not sure, look on that label. Figure it out. And listen, if you're going to do fruits, that's okay. They can be timed properly with workouts, but get rid of sugar.
Eliminate sugar. And so there's 2 rules, right? The simple one is if it comes in a cardboard box, the answer is no.
Yep.
Or another way of saying is if you have to ask,
the answer is no.
The answer is no.
Yeah.
The answer is no.
Number 3. Remember what it was?
I do.
No grains or dairy.
No grains or dairy.
Yes. If there's a doctor on here watching, he's like, great, you don't need grains. Yeah. Get rid of grains. Eliminate them from your diet. You don't need them right now.
Look, they may not be as bad for you as people say. Okay. That's okay. But, look, if you want to lose some weight and you eliminate grains, it's going to work.
It's going to work.
You don't need to necessarily know why.
Proof's in the pudding. Yeah. Yep. Number 4.
No alcohol.
Bummer.
No alcohol.
Yeah. That means you're going to be less fun. Nah.
Well, not necessarily. Look, Here's the thing. It's up to you. If you want to follow all 4 rules, definitely rule number 1. Start with rule
100%.
number 1, then get some success with rule number 2. 3 and 4 are definitely icing on the cake.
Yes.
However, if you've reached some sort of plateau,
that's a good one to
it's
throw in there.
good to kick you over, right?
Yep.
21 days, 30 days, 2 months, whatever it may
Yep.
be, without alcohol, right? There's extra calories there. There's some, secondary effects that we talked about that might be limiting
100%.
your progress. Okay.
Yep.
Some basic rules for fitness and working out.
Schedule it, man. You put it on the calendar. It's the gospel. You don't overlook that time that's meant for you. So,
Plan your day around your health,
that's it.
around your fitness, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, it's one thing that we've gotten into. We see a lot of our students who are professionals, a lot of people that we work with, like entrepreneur types. It's like, well, when I'm done, when I'm finished what I have to do, then I'm going to go work out.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
That never
us
happens.
being like type A,
Yeah.
there's always more work to do. We always find more
Yeah.
stuff to do.
You're never going to have free time. If you
Yeah.
sit at a table, something's going to pop on your plate and you're going to be occupied for hours and hours on end.
Yeah.
So schedule that time around your health and then be consistent with it.
Yeah.
Some principles of fitness:
Get walking.
get walking, start walking, lace the shoes up and walk fast.
Strength train.
Yeah, find some type of strength training. I really recommend it first for people. If you can find a trainer, find and find a group of people that you're going to do something with and commit to it, pay them so you have a little bit of skin in the game.
Right.
Lift heavy things and sprint.
High intensity exercise.
High intensity exercise.
And look, martial arts.
Train with a group of people.
Yeah.
What was that? You never understand. You never understand the value of a community until you're a part of one.
That's right.
Right? Or the unabashed
right.
power of a community until you're a part of
Yeah.
one. So getting in and coming into a place like this, or if you're not here in your neck of the woods, wherever you are around the world, is find a group of people that you can, learn some type of martial art and have some success with it. Have some fun too. I mean, it's so much fun just training.
Yeah.
Like we were in there Saturday training jiu-jitsu and choking each other out and
Yeah.
arm-barring one another and sweating and high-fiving, and it just creates this bond that's indescribable.
That's right.
That's
right. Hey, Lonnie.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thanks, man.
Thanks
I
for being
appreciate
on.
it.
Appreciate it. All right, everybody. That's this week's In Top Form, and we'll see you guys next week.
Thanks for having me. Peace. That was fun. That was an hour.